All right, welcome to the first, hopefully, of many episodes of Beyond the Clover podcast. And I'm joined by Kyle Hansen. He is a 4-H alumni and current 4-H volunteer. He's also in college. So this is just going to be these podcasts. If I can still able to do many of these, is just be a casual conversation. Not going to have any questions. I didn't come prepared. I mean, I know Kyle as a 4-H'er, but outside of that, I don't have questions wrote down. So where the conversation takes us, the conversation takes us. So be a little more, laid back, relaxing. Uh, don't know how long this is going to be. It's just going to be up to us and how the conversation leads. So we don't have anything in particular. So good morning. How are you, Kyle?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, Steven?
Oh, I'm enjoying this lockdown. It's a different thing for us, for me in particular, not being in the office. So
Yeah, I know that feeling with all going online down at Mizzou right now. Doing everything from home is just kind of a hard transition, but I think me and all my friends are getting through it.
that's good. That's good. Now, is anyone left on campus? I mean, can you stay in the dorms, or did you have to?
Just recently, all my friends that were in the dorms down at Mizzou, they had till April 3rd to pack up their things and move out. If the only exception was if they were international or if they didn't have a place to go.
That's understandable. I was hoping that's what they would do. So, because I know there's a bunch of kids that don't have a place to go, and during this time. So,
Mhm. Yeah, even some kids that weren't on campus. I had a few friends that were off campus, and their whole apartment complex was telling them that they need to go home.
oh wow,
Hmm.
that would be a challenge. And oh hey, by the way, you need to go now. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about 4-H since this is what we're here for. So, how did you get into 4-H? Was this family deal always, or did you decide to just sign up and as a kid, or parents, or how did you come about this?
I know my grandma on my mom's side, she was in 4-H, and then my mom and all her sisters were in 4-H. My dad was not in 4-H, but he did FFA. So then with him working for Extension, my mom being in 4-H kind of got me and my brother into 4-H. So we started, I have Clover kids, and we became full members.
Yeah, that's and see. My dad was in 4-H. My grandfather, my great aunt, my great grandmother, they started a club like I want to say it's 1941. It was during in between or during one of the wars. I can't remember the exact. I know 40 when the war and everything like that, but it was around the wartime when they started the club that I eventually became in. And we didn't realize this until I was like I was 17 or 18. We did a club project and got the history on it. So I understand that. Now, how long's your dad been working for Extension? And
I think he's been working for Extension for probably 24, 25 years, maybe.
oh wow, I didn't realize it was that long. I thought it was like
I
10, 15.
No, I know he's been working for Extension as long as he's had me, so that's at least 20 years.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So, what was your favorite thing about 4-H?
Probably think for 4-H was meeting my friends all across the state. Whenever I was young, I pretty much thought 4-H was just you do your projects, you go to the county fair, you show livestock, you do your shooting sports project, and then that's it. But then whenever I found out you got all these trips you can go on and all these new people you can meet across the state, that was probably the most enjoyable. And those are the experiences I share the most whenever I'm talking with other 4-Hers.
That's one thing what I want to do in this job because I was in 4-H and I started when I was 15, so I was late to the game when I started. But I did it for trap shooting, so I could get in and shoot shotgun, and I did 22 for a year, and actually put off my shotgun career in 4-H for that. But I missed out on so many opportunities. One, I didn't like, I stuck to the projects I had, and that was, pretty much the end of it. So I didn't take the full advantage like I see you and your brother Seth take off and do. I think those are really cool opportunities that, you know, as a YPA, and I guess I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Steven Steiner. I'm the YPA for Clinton, Caldwell, and DeKalb counties. Uh, and that's something that I try to bring awareness is to these kids at the county level that there is stuff beyond, the projects and shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, once I found out about all those trips you go on, the state congress, YCLS, legislative academy, that opened up my eyes because Sean Murphy, my youth specialist, he was the one that kind of pushed me to do legislative academy because I was like, I didn't really want to do it. I didn't see the point in doing it. But then after I went on that trip, it opened my eyes. I was like, wow, this trip was really fun. I'm glad Sean pushed me to do it. And then I was like, I'm going to go to YCLS now, try out this event. And then I eventually applied for National 4-H Congress. And then that was just a trip that was just amazing.
So how many trips, I mean, how many of the events that not only do we offer and the others, nationwide, like a teen conference, state congress, YCLS, did you go do, did you say you do did you do the legislative academy that we have in Jeff City? Did you do that?
Yeah, I did that, I believe, in 2015, I think.
How was that experience? Because that's one that I think is the toughest in my counties to get the kids involved in, even though I think it's a really neat opportunity.
So I'm not one that really is into politics that much, but being able to go there and visit with my regional representative or my state representative and then also my state senator, just talking with them, just find out who they are and that they're actually very personable people. They're easy to talk to. They like to get to know what you've done throughout your school, 4-H careers, and all the other organizations that you're in. And being able to be in Jeff City, walk around the Capitol for 3 days was just, it made me know what goes into politics and how the whole process works. And now I'm kind of looking at a few bills that are going through the legislature right now dealing with conservation and being able to understand the process, being able to contact my representative senator because they now know who I am on a personal level. This makes talking to them about reasons just a little bit easier.
Yeah, having that connection, and I think that's one thing I've learned in college and since college is the how far you can make it on connections and relationships that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying what you know is not important, but having those contacts is a great asset to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, applying for jobs and different scholarships, it's nice to have a bunch of people that know you well, that other people know also, because I'm applying for jobs with conservation, and I've just been talking with professors and then other people that I've been applying for their jobs, and they're like, oh, you worked for so-and-so, and you know this person, and just you don't realize how big of a network people actually know other people.
Right, right. And yeah, it's crazy the network because you're like, okay, so you talk to one person and you think it's small and then it blows up because they know someone who knows someone who knows someone and you're 20 people down the line and you've advanced further than some of those other people who haven't made those connections. And that's one of the cool things I think about 4-H is given those opportunities. And one of the hardest times right now is in what's going on with the COVID-19 is not being able to have these events.
Mm-hmm.
We just had we missed teen conference here, which would have been this weekend, I believe, this past weekend,
Yep.
21st and 22nd. So, which is a great time. Last year was my first year going as a chaperone. And you know what? After I got done, I said I was never going back. A year later, I was like, I thought about it. We just have some other things that I have to do, outside of work. Otherwise, I would have signed up for it. Granted, we didn't end up having it. But I don't know if I told you this or if you read, because I made a Facebook post about it. So we get 10 kids. We're down there. We're meeting in the hotel. They give me the 10 kids that I'll be in charge of. And so we've got them, and they say, take a group photo. So I line all 10 of them up. I take the picture. I count. And I'm like, there's only 9 kids. Well, you can see one of them's running back behind the others. He had to throw something away and thought right in the middle of the picture time would be a great time to go throw something away.
I,
So, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, just thinking of that brings back to one of my favorite teen conference memories. Of we were prank calling other rooms because we knew there were kids in those rooms, and we just kept calling and calling. It was about probably midnight, 1 in the morning. We're still calling random rooms because we just know that those kids are there. We for sure weren't disturbing any other residents that were there, but just calling all those other members, and then just having a few state congress or state councilmen come to our room. They literally unplugged our phone and took it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've heard some pretty cool stories from the staff that I won't get into. Let's just say 4-H has improved and gotten better on some of the stuff from when they were around. So yeah, so the kids took off, and then those kids, we we bus them to campus. They get off campus or off the bus, and the first thing they do is they take off, run across the street. I'm like, do we not remember to look both ways? And I'm responsible for 10 kids, and these kids have parents and people that love them, and so I'm a nervous wreck, and everybody else is Steven, you'll be fine. I'm like, it's Columbia, Missouri. It's a big place. Some of these kids have not been somewhere like this. On the way to campus, we saw someone get arrested. They've never seen that before. Handcuffs, cops. I mean, the whole shebang. And I was like, well, this is what happens. I said, if you're an 4-H kid, you're most likely going to miss out on this stuff. So just remember to stay on that path, And they're like, well, that was scary. So they run across campus. We have a good time on campus, and then we're walking back to go eat. I don't remember where we ate. One of the dining halls. And we got
It was Plaza 900.
yes, and we've got one of the kids running in the middle of the street and cars coming. And I'm like, why? As soon as and I know these kids know this stuff, but as soon as they get off campus away from parents, they're just like, our rules are forgotten. It's okay to go play with cars. So I'm on kids getting back in the street, and I turn into like full-blown staff member getting on kids. Every time I turn around, there's kids gone. I try to keep my group grouped up because the kids are just scattered everywhere, and you just hope that one person's going to take care of, oh, hey, here's another kid that's not mine. I hope they'll grab theirs, and then when we get back to the dance hall, that or to the mess hall where we're eating, that they all catch up, and we got another picture, and then we go to eat, and two of the boys had Make America Great hats on. One of the college girl comes up and is like, hey, can I take a picture? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then they just fall in love with this girl, and so they're trying to follow her around. I'm like, no. And they're like, can I sit by her? It's like, no, you guys had your chances. You clammed up and act like goofballs. So it's your moment's passed. It's time to let this one go. And then they tried sitting with college kids and tell them stories and entertain them. It just, and that's not even, we go for the dance, and then I've got some kids are still in their dorm room getting ready, and I've got, kids down my hall. And so I'm getting them for other people, and and the girls, we got to put makeup on. We got to get ready. I'm like, you're teenagers. What are we getting ready for? So we get through the dance. We get back into the to shut down for the night. I mean, and it's me and Susie Folkert, who is she's 4-H mom, she's a 4-H volunteer, and she's a chaperone on the trip with me. So we're watching our hallway, and here comes the Domino's man in the hall. I was like, what's going on? Where's he going? And I was like, please don't knock on my door. Please don't knock on one of my kids' door. He knocks on one of my kids' door. So I walked down there. I was like, what's going on? They're like, they ordered pizza, and then they allowed me in I was like, what? You know how many, this is my greatest fear right here is this. So the kids jump out of bed. Well, one of them does. He called mom. He called parents. They ordered it and paid for it. All he had to do was sign the receipt. And so he was cool with them, because they don't have any money to do that.
Yeah.
And so the lights were off. The other kid was in bed. The only thing that they broke is he got out of bed to get Domino's. And so I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm trying to think of everything that I'm going to have to worry about with these kids. And that was one thing that I did not think about was them ordering Domino's. So I told Brad Anderson the next day, and he was like, it used to be in there in our rules that no pizza. We took it out because we hadn't had any issues with it. I guess it's time to put it back in. I didn't read this year's rules to see if he did that, but that's what I had to deal with. So, oh, and my other group, we had to be up at 7 a.m. there. It was a Sunday morning, and get up and ready. And they went to bed at 5 o'clock. And I've never seen more kids in one place pound coffee like a bunch of teenagers at teen conference who did not go to sleep. they fill up their little 20-ounce cup and they just pour the sugar in on top of it, and then they go sit and drink that stuff and try to stay awake.
Yeah, I remember just those teen conference years. Just you're sitting there with all your friends, and you all are just tired because none of y'all wanted to sleep. You all wanted to have fun and talk all night. And then that just next morning, you're just dragging and dragging. It's like, well, there's coffee over there. Let's all just go pound this and see if we can stay awake through this.
That's exactly how it was. I was like, I don't know if I've seen some adults, you know, cattle shows and stuff like that, drink coffee like that, but not the way those kids, they went after it. I was pretty impressed. And the people who were taking care of us at the hotel, you know, they were running back and forth, bringing more coffee and looking around, you know, like we got a room full of madmen. And normally, you know, the kids would be all hyped up, and I'd be worried about that. Nope, not this group. They were so worried about trying to stay awake that's all that coffee could do for them. So, what was your favorite project that you did in 4-H or projects?
My favorite projects were probably shotgun shooting and then welding. I picked up, and also showing sheep, but welding I picked up my junior and senior year of high school. And my first project, I was going to do something small just because I wasn't that good at welding yet. And I built a swing gate for our sheep operation for us to use for one of our pens. And it actually turned out pretty decent. I learned a lot of things that I could do better. And then the next year I was like, I want to do something big for my senior year. So I ended up building a 20-foot car trailer. And I think I was a little bit over my head, but I got it done in the time frame for a county fair. Was able to take it to the district fair and then the state fair. And one thing funny about taking it to the district fair is that they were pretty much advertising my trailer to get people to come to the district fair. They just said they had one huge project from one of the district's members, and it was just bringing a lot of attention. It got best in show up there, and I didn't think that was going to happen. But that's still one project. I showed to friends down at college, people I meet. I'm like, here's something I can do. Then shotgun shooting, I'm with the Mizzou Shotgun Club down in Mizzou. We go across the Midwest to different shoots, go to the national shooting competition down in San Antonio. And then my sheep operation, you just learned a lot of life skills from that. You learn to wake up early in the morning, do chores, just makes you take on a lot of responsibilities. So I feel like a lot of these projects and skills I'm able to take on to my later life, because with my sheep operation, I'm a morning person, so I'm able to wake up for those early classes that nobody wants to take, get all my classes done out of the way down at Mizzou, and then have fun during the afternoon or be able to do homework later on. Welding, I'm able to put that on resume for jobs, saying that here's a skill I can do that other people probably can't do. And I've had a few of my employers, they've said that we've put you on top of the list because that you can weld. That's something that not a lot of people can do, and that's something we use a lot on the job. And then my shotgun experience, just being able to carry that on through college and then compete at a higher level. It's just been a lot of fun with that team and then meeting all these other shooters from across the nation.
Yeah, I shot trap. My last year, I was 6th in the state is where I placed. So there was, what was there, like a 6-way tie, and how we did it is we had you got the 5 places for shooting trap trap, and then they stuck me on the far right end past the 5th person, and I had a hard breaking left one, which when I stand, I'm going to stand a little further in line. So when I swing left, I'm not hitting anyone. So I have one of those and I missed it. I was out. But funny story. So I go down there and we get there. We show up late. We were behind. I mean, I get in there. I get signed up. I'm on the line when I get there. And I was like mid-morning is when I was supposed to be, it starts early, 8 a.m. or something like that. And then
Yeah.
I was like 10:30. We don't get there till like 10 o'clock. My group's on the line. I have my gun. I bring out everything, and I have got to go to the bathroom. Bad. And I am holding it. I hit 25 out of 25 my first go round. I go to the bathroom, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm lucky to hit 25 out of 25, and everyone's like, oh, you did great. I was like, no time to talk. It's bathroom time, so I'm rushing off. I come back and I was 23 out of 25 the next time around, but that was my first and only experience at shooting trap at Columbia. So, and I tried to get on the shooting team down there, and they told me no. And I was like, I had a scholarship offer to Lindenwood, which I should have, I probably should have took looking back at that. But it was, I didn't want to go that. It was either Columbia or bust, and I didn't want to go anywhere else. I mean, I ended up going to NCMC and then on the Northwest, but I had everything set on Mizzou. So I think it's really cool that you are shooting for the club down there and get to go travel and do all that other stuff and still get to shoot. So
Yeah, and just practicing with them. The first time I was down there, all the guys there were telling me I was shooting wrong, and that like my stance was wrong, everything I was doing was wrong. And I was like, well, this is how I've been taught to shoot like all my life. And just like with the couple of things they fixed me, I just been shooting way better. And now like whenever I go back home to Livingston County and I go shoot with the 4-H kids, I'll just be like trying to tell a few of them like, hey, here's a few tips to help you out just a little bit. And it'll just be like minor things like just raise your barrel just a couple more inches or just put your foot out just a little bit. And what I found out also my first year was there were a few of the guys that were on team that actually shot for the state 4-H shotgun team. So it was cool to have that connection with them. Like, yeah, I shot through 4-H also.
yeah, and you meet those people. Did you place at state?
It's state one. I think the best I ever placed at state competition was, I think, 7th. I think that was the best I've placed.
Yeah, so you're not too far off. I mean, obviously you're better than me now, but you're not too far off from where we were, going through. So you're at Mizzou and you're talking about your sheep projects. I'll tell you one thing that I realized when we went to college is your early morning classes are filled with Aggies. That because they're the only
Yes.
people I feel like that's up at campus. Everything else is at at 10 o'clock they'll start their first class, and they look like they just haven't seen daylight and their whole life. And Aggies are always filled with that first class. That's one thing I learned.
Yeah, I always give one of my roommates a bunch of crap because he doesn't wake up till about 11, 12. And I'm like, buddy, you've already wasted half your day away. And I'm like, if you wake up, you could probably do your homework. You could find something else to do in the morning. And he goes, no, I'll just stay up later. And I'm like, all right, you do you. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have all the breakfast food to myself.
Yeah, exactly. I never understood that like if I sleep in and I can't, I haven't been able to. Usually when I'm sick, I can. I'll wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning and be like, well, the day's half over and I have accomplished nothing.
Yeah, but then I feel if I sleep in past 8 or 9, which happens just a couple times on the weekend if I come home a little bit, but I'll just be like, I just be tired the rest of the day. I just don't want to do anything. But waking up early just gives me a little bit more energy to do what I need to do.
Yeah, and there's some people out there like that do podcasts and do other stuff. The Navy SEAL, he's got a podcast. Jocko Willenick, he's up at like 4:30, 3:30 in the morning, and he was like, "Well, we're burning daylight. What are you guys doing right now?" And I see that stuff, and it's like a few hours later, and I was like, "I was sleeping." To be honest with you, it felt great. I don't feel bad whatsoever because I've done those working cattle shows and sales where you're in bed at 1 o'clock and then you're up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And there's only so much of that I can take. So now with your sheep project, is this something that you're going to carry on for the rest of your life? Not the project itself, but I mean, having and raising sheep.
I think later on, once I get land somewhere, I may go sheep, but I think I'll probably maybe do cattle too. Because I know we did have a few steers before we had a bunch of sheep, and I've did bucket calves, and I feel like I would do sheep again, but I would also probably maybe incorporate some cattle in with it.
Right. I mean, do you guys still have some sheep?
Yeah, I sold all the rest of my half of the ewes to my brother so that he could have all profits would go to him through his 4-H and FFA career. So they have 22 sheep right now, and they got all their, I don't remember how many lambs they have, but they got a lot of lambs out there too.
Oh, good. Yeah, that sheep, that was one thing I couldn't, I had never got into. I have a lot of friends with good quality sheep. They're like, come show. I said, no, thanks. I'll be all right. So,
Yeah, one thing I liked about showing sheep was a guy my size was just able just to manhandle the animal, and if it wasn't moving, I could pull it myself. I could easily reach around, set its feet, and everything. And I just remember going to one show, and this kid had baby doll sheep, and I helped him a little bit because I saw it was his first time showing and everything. Helped him with his pen, making sure his animals were okay. And then his mom came up to me and was like, "Can you help my son show one of his baby dolls?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that for him." Now, granted, I'm a 6'3" guy, and this fully grown lamb, only came up almost to my knee. So trying to learn how to show that was a little bit of a struggle. I was really down on my knees trying to brace this animal.
yeah, the whole bracing thing and then small animals. And then I'll tell you what, pigs are a lot worse than sheep, but you get them out there and guys built like us, taller. And I say taller because I'm only 6 foot, but it seems like the rest of the world at times is vertically challenged. But they're really good at just like knocking your knees out and stuff like that. You're always up and down, and that's what I appreciate about cattle. It's like, oh hey, I don't have to, worry about all this extra stuff when they're small animals.
Yep.
So one of the things that we struggle with in Missouri 4-H is retaining kids through high school. What was things about 4-H that you decided that you wanted to stick with it and not, and I don't blame kids, but a lot of them want to jump to FFA, which is great, and do that stuff. But most of the time they leave their 4-H career behind. What was it that made you stick with 4-H?
I believe the things that made me stick through 4-H through high school was being a Camp 4-H counselor, because I loved 4-H camp as a camper, and just wanted to be one of those counselors when I was younger. That was kind of a goal I set in mind. And once I became a counselor, you make friends with those other counselors, and then you guys just want to keep meeting up. You want to keep having fun over the summer, and then going on all those state trips, joining state 4-H council, and meeting all these different people. Is just kind of, you just want to keep those connections going, and meeting up with all those friends every summer at different events, and going to different shooting competitions through 4-H and different livestock shows. Just, I believe that's what the connections I made that made me want to stay throughout my high school career.
So, you think that if we could get more participants in our state activities, that mm, more kids would want to stick through it through high school?
I I believe if you got more participants, that other members that go to all those events, they'll become friends, and they'll eventually, like that 4-H of those people that the I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this, but people that go to all those events. I'll use me and my brother for example. We go to all these events, and then we meet these new kids we never met before, and I think just that love of 4-H just kind of rubs off on them, and then they want to come back again because they saw how much fun it was.
Right, right, and that makes sense. And that's one thing that we try to push at the county level. Get scholarships and get kids going on and trying to see. There are things beyond the county, and there's nothing wrong with those who want to stick to the county. I understand, but there's a lot of great opportunities out there that we want to try and push the kids towards. One of the things that you did was regional rep, and you came to a lot of our county events and stuff like that. So why don't you explain what all that took and why did you apply to do that?
So I didn't make regional rep the first two times I applied for it. It was the third time I got it, and that was when I was a freshman in college. And that made it a little bit harder for me to be a regional rep, because then I was going to be down in Columbia and farther away from the Northwest region. But I wanted to make it a goal to where I would visit every county possible, or almost all of them. And I achieved that goal of visiting almost all the counties once. And what I would do, I would go to those events. I would talk to the 4-H members there. I would ask them what they did as a project. I would try to convince people to go to all these state events. and I would attend their recognition nights, present awards to kids. And I actually had a few kids come up and they wanted to actually know why I was there, and then being able to tell them how I applied for it, going to state congress and being elected as it, and then playing in state teen conference, state 4-H congress with the rest of the council. It was one of the great experiences of being a representative, and I had great, I'll call them mentors because they're the ones that made me strive to be this. But I mean, Jensen Mays, Marcy Eggers, they were truly ones that pushed me along my way, and Echo Essick too, just making me be that regional rep that I wanted to be, because I wanted to one up them and be a little bit better.
Absolutely. I think there's a little competition, competitiveness behind that, where you want to be good, but you also want to be, just a little bit better than those who led the way. And there's nothing, wrong with what they did or anything like that. But it's just like, let me say, you were the teacher, then I'm now the master of this deal. So, okay, so we've talked about your favorite projects. What's one project that you did in your 4-H career that you tried it once and you may have never done it again, but something that would surprise people? Hopefully this gets out to the whole state. That's my goal. I don't know how that's going to happen, or I know ways. I don't know if that's going to happen. But for those of you who do know you, and maybe some of the ones who don't, what was one project that you did that maybe you did a couple years and then not many people know you were in that project?
Some projects that I don't say very often that I was in, but I tell a few friends, I always lead off whenever I'm telling people about my projects. I always lead off with my woodworking, welding, shooting sports, and sheep showing. But one thing I don't say is like, yeah, I was in gardening. I showed rabbits for a little bit, and I did all your BB-22 archery, did all that shooting. But I always think the rabbit showing, that was probably the one thing I did for a few years. Wasn't too good. I didn't understand what I was doing, but had a little, if I remember correctly, he was a mini Rex. I think that's what breed that rabbit was. But I showed the bucket calf first year, and then I went over to that rabbit, and I showed the rabbit for a couple years, not really knowing what I was doing. I kind of just felt like he was just a pet at the point. I was just taking him just for another entry in the fair. But that's one project I just did a couple years, and then I moved on to wanting to show sheep and focus on more on the shooting sports projects.
The rabbit showing deal is a whole different ball of wax that I don't quite understand. And we have some people, good people in Clinton County who do that. I think there's some getting started in DeKalb County. But when we hold county fair, or our county fair, we'll have 120 some head of rabbits show up, and kids from Blue Springs that'll drive to Plattsburgh or drive to Maysville or wherever it may be, and they hit all the same shows. And even if it's the same judge, they all come back time and time again. I don't understand it. I've heard people talk about it. They could rig up little fans, or they freeze water bottles at State Fair during when it's hot, and they'll put water bottles in there to keep them cool and giving them an advantage and stuff like that. I that was one thing that surprises me, that you tried that, because I wouldn't have guessed a rabbit shower, but that is pretty cool. I did like photography. I'm really horrible at that. And then campground cooking, I didn't do well in that either. That's those, and campground cooking, I think they got rid of that project. But when I was in 4-H, a lot different than like shooting sports was more the wild, wild west. You did what you had to. Now it's structured. There's so many different safety components that they've added in that to make it safer and more experience and stuff like that. So yeah, so gardening. Do you stick with your gardening though?
I would plan on probably future years to do a little bit of gardening, not as extensive as what my dad has done, but I do like being able to just go out there some mornings, pick some of the tomatoes off, or the asparagus. I love, my grandma got me hooked on her rhubarb crisp, and we tried to plant some rhubarb, and only one of the plants survived, so we don't really get too much of that. But peppers, onions, my brother has that I'm gone, they got a bunch of berry plants now. So they have a bunch of these nice blackberries that they have. But it's always just nice whenever you're at home and you want to cook up some like stir fry fajitas and you can use some of those homegrown vegetables. That kind of makes you feel pretty like, wow, I was able to do this.
Well, and even like now they have uh, with their everything for the most part being shut down, people are like, "Oh, gardening's cool. That's a great way." They're out there. We're bringing gardening back, and I'm thinking I've seen on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that those comments, and my thought was that stuff never went away. And
Mm-hmm.
you see them; they'll grow seeds and stuff like that inside and in paper towels, and hey, we're gardening, which I'm glad they're doing, which is good. I think one thing that we have lost is our survival skills and our life skills are not what they once were, like hunting and fishing, being able to build shelters, grow your own food, just basic live off the land. I know people are worried about, the spread of the coronavirus and touching debit cards and cash and stuff like that. And I said, well, if we're that scared, let's go back to the barter system. I've got beef and you got what I need, so we'll just go through and trade what we've got. And I wouldn't have any problem with doing that.
Yeah, I I just know this whole coronavirus deal. It's just put like a big strain on everything. Because I know me and my friends, we want to go hang around Columbia. We want to go watch movies. We want to go bowling, and we just can't do that no more. And it's trying to find new things to do. And the weather hasn't been too good recently, but we would go out, shoot some clays out at the range around Finger Lakes, or go shoot sporting clays at Prairie Grove, or just go fishing. I mean, just being able to go outside instead of just being hunkered in all day. Because people, they say stay at home, but you can go fish outside and be 6 foot away from other people, and then you're not going to lose your sanity being stuck inside all day.
Absolutely. I've got a pond behind the house, and I go back there, and there's no one around, and that's perfect. Uh, so what led you? Because and I'll let you explain. Your job is to be a conservation agent, right? Or your goal
Uh,
for your
e-
job.
Either fish biologist or conservation agent.
So do you have classes with Reed Nico?
I do have classes with Reed Nico.
Oh, Nico,
I
excuse me.
Yeah, Nico. I um, took fisheries management with him and water quality. I I think those are the two classes we've had together.
Um, how many years you got left at MU?
I got After this semester, I have one more year.
That's what I was thinking. I couldn't believe how quickly the time passed when I was, thinking about who to ask to be the first person on here. Um, why did you choose Mizzou?
I chose Mizzou because my mom and dad both went there to get their masters, so there was that little legacy concept, and then only being 2 hours from home, the in-state tuition, and Mizzou just has a great natural resource program, and also the fact that I've been to Mizzou countless times through state congress and team conference, walking across campus. That just it made a pretty easy decision for me that they got a good program. Been there multiple times. I know the campus. It was a good choice to go there. And then all those friends I met across the state. It was pretty funny move-in day freshman year. We just got the truck parked. We were getting ready to load stuff out to move into my dorm, and it was about 3 minutes. And my friend Jake Vaughn, he just was just right there. And my dad's like, "How are we only 3 minutes on campus, and you already know someone you met?"
Yeah, it's amazing how that stuff works, and it's usually just like right in that moment. You're like, oh, hey, I know you, and I know you, and I know you, and uh, yeah, it's been pretty interesting. You worked some time in the state office, didn't you?
Yeah, I worked 2 years at the state office under Joyce Taylor and then Jim Sappington, and helped Jim with a few shooting sports events and coordinating the state 4-H shooting sports teams, going to the Capitol, getting pictures and recognized, helped coordinate that, and then just doing behind the scenes work for different events, helping with surveys, getting materials ready for special events, and then helping out at a few of those events. I know I helped out at the horse bowl contest and the livestock judging contest.
So did it give you a different perspective on what it's like working behind the scenes? You know, more of what I do and the state people, they do a lot of amazing things that you were like, wow, I didn't realize this is what all went into it. You know, I think that's what a lot of parents and kids, they show up in the event, you know, you hope it runs smoothly. It never does. There's always some, you know, monkey
Yep.
wrench that's tossed in there somehow. And we get through, like the Energizer, there's 300 kids, 100 adult volunteers. Some people miss the times, don't show up, get sick, you know, contact us. We got to fill in. What was your experience? What did you think about all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes?
I mean, like you said, just whenever I was a member, just showing up to the event, I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm just gonna go follow what everybody else does. But working behind the scenes, it did open up my eyes to like, wow, there's actually a lot that goes on here. Printing off schedules, trying to figure out the schedules, uh, coordinating who's going to work what volunteers can you get here, uh, contacting all different sponsors, and then also trying to just, I know one thing I struggled with the most working in our gym was just trying to contact all the senators and representatives and just try to get a hold of them and be like, hey, I got a shooting sports member that is under your district. Will you be there to able to shake their hand, do a photo opportunity with them? And that was just a long process trying to get a hold of those people. So it opens up my eyes to like, they got all these different events that you guys plan year long, and all the stuff that goes into it makes me like want to like tell other members and parents and people just that there's a lot that goes on here. Just try your best to stay calm, and if something goes wrong, something goes wrong at every event. It's just bound to happen at some point.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and that's one thing. And I appreciate working with Debbie Davis, who's who's a youth specialist in Clinton Caldwell and DeKalb. Um, one of the things that I appreciate is I I don't say I let her. I think it just kind of it works out that way. And the planning and processing is she knows the more of the technical in and out stuff where it may take me a little bit more time to find it. So she'll handle stuff like that at events, and I just turn firefighter. I go put out the fires, what's going on. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we held in the contest day there March 7th in Clinton County and had 2 judges not show up. So I'm calling friends or people I know, hey, can you come fill in? I'm asking other, you know, parents who, you know, just have one kid doing, let's say like we had uh, Gina Thompson step up and her daughter was doing the chicken barbecue and she showed up and she did the Clover Kids judging. And then I had another former 4-H'er who's comes back usually in the Plattsburgh area on the weekend, and they she jumped in and helped with that. So a lot of that stuff goes into it, and I don't think a lot of people see unless, you know, we ask. And we're always rushing around doing stuff, and then it, when things go well and you finally get to take a break and relax, and you're just like, oh, finally, you know, things are going well. Usually right in the middle of it, it gets that feeling of relief. So when you called these people, state reps or senators and stuff like that, were you successful in getting them to come to these events?
I I was successful to get them to come to the event. I think there's only one representative that couldn't show up because he was in a bill hearing, but the rest of them, they were all able to show up, and those kids they were all pretty excited to be able to shake their senator's hand, get a little photo off them, then even have a conversation down the hall with them about what they did.
That's awesome, and that's something that if they did that when I was in 4-H, we're talking 2007, 2008, uh, tail end of those years. If they did that, I don't remember it, but that's really something cool, you know, that they get going for the kids and give them that experience. And plus, you know, it helps out, you know, making the connections, good photo op and stuff like that. And it's good that those guys come back and support, you know, the kids in 4-H and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what's it like working for Jim Sappington?
Working with Jim Sabaton was it was a blast. We both had same views on everything, and just I was able to learn a lot of gun history from him because he did a lot of the Western heritage, and I didn't know a bunch of the older pistols or shotguns, and we would just have these guns that we would be working with, and It was real nice just being able to work with him. We've talked a lot about hunting, fishing, working state calendars, getting all those shooting sports calendars sent out to different county offices, giving them to the new state shooting sports teams, and just able to have just very easy conversations with him. I still go into the 4-H office every now and then, stop in, see where his new hunting trip's going to be, what big deer he got last fall was. I'll share my duck hunting stories with him, and he was just all around easy to talk to guy.
I've called him numerous times with issues. I called him about a year, maybe 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago. And I said, Jim, I've got 4-H'er, and she's got, like, say it was a total of $70 bill for 4-H enrollment. And what happened was who was ever running 4-H online or putting this stuff in sent it, and it was one of the southern counties sent it to apply to all 4-H'ers, and the parent calls me, why is it this much? I was like, what? So I signed in there, and I called Jim, and he thought it was set up for all counties when he first looked at it, And I call him, and I'm just kind of, not panic, but just a little like, hey, this is going, and he's got this like calming demeanor to you where you're like, might be up here, and then you talk to him and you just slowly come on down. You're like, oh, and you like notice you're calming down from where you were to stress level or panic or however you phrase that. And talking to him, that's one of those cool deals. And now he's kind of got, when I call him, he's like, what's going on? So he thought he was going to have to do that for all the counties, and it turned out he only had to do like 6 of them, which was good. So, that's not a bad fix. I called him this year. There was something wrong with the 4-H online profile for one of my volunteers, and they were registering for camp or Energizer back in February. So when I clicked on her profile, every time I'd go to click somewhere else, it locked me out, it shut me out of the system. And then it would do that to Debbie when Debbie tried to use it. And then I called Jim, and Jim's working through it, and it locked him out. And so he was like basically 4-H online. I mean, you could have still proven and stuff like that, at other counties, but his system was shut down. Mine was shut down. Debbie was shut down. He was like, I'm going to have to send this off to the higher ups. They're going to have to figure this deal out and get it back to me. And by the next morning, this is like, and I usually call him at 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, and right as he's walking out the door, break the bad news to him that he's going to have this problem for tomorrow. But they got that reset and back. But he's a pretty cool guy to come in and take over that program, and he's done a lot of great things with it.
Mm-hmm.
How was it working with Joyce Taylor? And Joyce, she's longtime member in the state office. Mm-hmm. I show up to do my new hire orientation. So we go through when they sit down with everything in the extension office and the HR people, and they go over payroll and all that stuff. We go over to the 4-H center, and Joyce is like, "Oh, Steven, you're Steven Steiner, the new YP." I'm like, "Who are you, and why do you know so much about me?" But it seems like she knows anything and everything about everyone she meets.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's not one person that she doesn't know in 4-H, but she's just super kind woman, easy to be around. When she wants to get something done, she'll get it done. And the tasks that she would have me do, they were easy tasks to get done. And I didn't realize at the time that I was like, this task to me is easy, I'll get it done. But I didn't realize it was part of a bigger plan that she had. And whenever she puts her mind to something, it's gonna be that way. And working with her on state 4-H council, if you would do what Mama Joyce said, she would make sure that the job went done and the thing would go smoothly.
So with Joyce and Jim, are they pretty structured and organized, or is it? Do you remember Shannon White?
Shannon White, yes, I remember her.
she had the science position. She also did 4-H online before gym.
Mm-hmm.
Her desk was this deep, as I break in my background here, was this deep of like papers and stuff just scattered everywhere, which is how I operate. Mine's not that bad. I got to give myself credit there. My desk is not that bad, but and she was just like a mad person, like all the lights and windows and everything was shut off and closed. And you could tell she was a computer person just from that stuff. Cause it's like, I think she left work and went home. I'm not sure. She could have very well slept there. She could be one of those computer techie people that that never left the office just for that fact, been nocturnal type deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're both pretty structured people. Joyce's desk, I'm pretty sure it's just always clean. There's never a giant pile on there. There are times, Jim, whenever we're doing shooting sports calendars and we have orders coming in and out, we'll have stacks of papers of orders here. We'll have another stack of papers here, but once we finish that task, his room it's pretty organized, and all the staff people now have Missouri state signs in their room that have every county on there. And I walk into Jim's room and he has every youth specialist, YPA, or staff member on in that county. So whenever he knows what county to contact, he knows exactly who he's going to be speaking to.
Wait, does he have like 3 pictures of me, for one for Clinton, one for Caldwell, and the one for DeKalb? Because that'd be awesome. Pretty up that board.
He has your name in 3 different spots.
Oh, just my name, no picture. All right, fair enough.
No pictures.
That would have been awesome. Just like 3 little Steven heads just in there. All right, so you talked about camp, and you were a counselor. How many years were you a counselor, camp counselor?
I was a camp counselor 4 years, but 5 times.
Because didn't one year you work both weeks?
Yeah, one year we had a shortage on guide counselors, so then I stepped up and did two weeks both in a row.
Yeah, I think I remember. I believe that was the year before I came aboard as the YPA. So that would have been the summer of 2016, I believe.
Yeah, that summer.
So now, did you go to camp 8 to 13? It's 8 to 13, and then right, or is it 8 to 12, and then you have a year off?
It's 8 to 13, and then counselor 14 to 18.
So, but you went camp 8 to.
I went to camp all my member years.
So, man, I wonder how many other kids have done that.
I know my counselor teams, I'm pretty sure three quarters of them, they were all campers through all their years, and then they went on to be counselors. I know a few of them were campers there last year, and then they were counselors, or I know there's just a couple that just went straight to just being counselors.
Yeah, we've had some of those. And so the process this year, I think there was 13 guys that did it, and then 13 or 14 this year. We had 32, 33 girls sign up to be camp counselor.
Yeah, my brother showed me the list, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I was a counselor for all those people on the list. And just seeing that big of a list, I was like, man, the only time I saw a list that big was, I think, the second year I applied to be a counselor.
Yeah, they're getting enormous, and I hope these kids keep coming back. I know it's tough, and not everyone gets it, and some, we've had some returning that are not coming back, and it's nothing against them. They're great kids, and they're prepared. It's just, we've got to look at this deal as a whole, and that's one thing. If what my kids, I say my kids, the kids in my counties, if they're ones who aren't selected, is we've got to look at all the regions that come and participate, and we've got to take those kids. So if you're a girl, you're going to be in the higher percentage that didn't make it. And it's just the numbers and the shakeout. And, sometimes you may have someone may have a better day when it comes through the interview and selection process. And that's okay. And I hope they don't get discouraged by that. And that's something. Sorry.
I know my first year I applied to be a counselor. I didn't get it. And I was,
really?
Yeah, for first year I didn't get it, and I was a little bit bummed. All the rest of the counselors I was there with, I was pretty good friends to them, because I remember one year I showed up as a camper, and one of the counselors was like, "Oh, you're Kyle. Oh, we've all heard about you," and just wanted to be a counselor with all of them. I didn't get that opportunity my first year, but second year I was able to be a counselor with them, and it was their final year of going out. But yeah, I didn't get it my first year. I was bummed out, but then I applied to get my second year and I got it.
And I'm glad, and you've talked about that even with your regional rep. I'm glad that
Mhm.
you were resilient and you stuck with it, because there's going to be some times when we do this stuff and in life, even as a kid and when you get older, and as you figured out, that you're going to have to stick with some things, and then it may even be better. You may be probably going to be better for it to have those challenges, and face them and still come back and do that.
Yeah, I know being turned down multiple times for regional rep, being turned down for counselor, not getting the officer position that you wanted in your club or county. It just kind of makes you want to. It makes you better for that next time you're applying for that. You're gonna get down, but then you're just able to look back. What did I do wrong? How can I improve it? And then you're ready to go for the next time.
Absolutely, and I know I talked about him earlier, but Jocko Willenick, he has a thing on there, and it's called Good, and it's motivation that he talks about. And he was talking about leading his team, and things went bad, and they'd be like, didn't get the mission, equipment fail or stuff like that, and he was like, good, that we get to learn from this, we'll get better from this. I think, and one thing, we have a lot of kids who are successful in 4-H, and sometimes you're going to find stuff that you don't make it, and it's going to discourage you. But I hope that that you can come back the next year and get ready to compete and do it again, and you'll be better for it. And I think that's one thing that 4-H allows you to do, is to like explore a lot of different opportunities and projects and stuff like that. And it's okay here. Let's say you fail or something, and you get a red ribbon or a white ribbon or something like that. But it's a learning experience, and I think, and sometimes, my view on this might be a little tough when I'm talking to parents, and well, they got a red ribbon or white ribbon, and they're not going to do that project again next year. And then one of my things is, if it's something you're truly passionate about and you fail at it, you're still going to plug through. And I think that's one way to weed out what you're passionate about. Because if you do have that failure, but you still keep plugging along, that means you're passionate about it.
Yeah, I know with my waterfowl hunting, I just got into it my freshman year of college, and I would go with these guys to Bass Pro. They'd have me buy these calls, buy this stuff, and I've never done it before. I didn't know what I was doing, and just trying to learn from them. And then my first time going out, just seeing those ducks cupped up in front of you, and just you just shoot them all, and you just have fun with all your friends out there. I just got stuck with it. So now I'm just like keep trying to better myself with calls. Me and my roommate will have just like calling sessions in our living room in our duplex, just going back and forth, me trying to learn how he does this certain call. And then also now I'm taking friends out doing different hunting. I'll take friends deer hunting, turkey hunting, taking friends squirrel hunting, just walking around, and just being out there is just something I'm passionate about. So I'm just going to keep doing it. Doesn't matter if I get 1 year, I don't get my deer, I don't get my turkey. I'm still just going to go out there and try again the next year.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and I'm glad you have that, where you find that passion and you stick with it, through all the adversities and stuff like that you're going to face along the way. And I'll tell you what, getting skunked deer hunting is one of the like toughest feelings, because especially if you're not, and I'm, with the I haven't went deer hunting in a while, just don't have the time and other things I'd rather be doing. It was a passion for a long time of mine, but you get skunked, or you see one and you can't shoot it based on regulations and restrictions, that the MDC
Mm-hmm.
has put in place. And it's just like, oh man, I missed out. I missed out on that one. And then year rolls around and you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, ready to go again. And that's a great feeling. So,
Yeah, because
so
I know this last deer season, I was just sitting down at my tree and I saw this deer walking over the hill, and it was a doe. And I'm like, I was just wanting to shoot a buck this year. So I just text my brother. I'm like, hey, there's a doe walking your way. Just be ready for it. And he texted back, okay, where's it coming? I said, it's coming from the east. Be ready. And I'm not paying attention. I was texting another friend, seeing how they were doing over at their farm. And all of a sudden I look over and I got a buck standing to my right. And I was like, oh man. this is bad. I'm looking at my phone right now. So I slowly had to set the phone on the ground, get my gun ready. And I keep trying to inch closer and closer to this buck so I can get a shot on him. Well, then as I'm about ready to pull my gun up, I'm getting close enough to him. I just hear a big bang, and my brother texts me, I shot that doe you told me it was coming over the hill. I was like, are you kidding me? But I'll be back out next year to see if I can get that deer.
Yeah, and good luck. There's always the one that got away, man, and
Yep.
and then when you finally you're able to harvest that, and you're just like, oh, the success and the good feelings and everything that comes with that. It's a hard moment to beat.
Mm-hmm.
So what else? There was something else I was going to ask you about. Now I forgot. So tell me, how did you get into the career field that you're looking into? What led you there?
I think what led me to want to work on conservation, either with MDC or USGS or Fish Wildlife Service, was watching Animal Planet, and I'm a big fan of the Lone Star Law or Rocky Mountain Law or the ones up in Maine, and seeing what those game wardens and conservation agents do. That kind of made me want to be able to do that. And then now picking my field, doing all my summer jobs, working on the river, working on lakes, being able to handle fish and learning more about certain wildlife and fish biology. Because I know I was fishing with my dad one day, and we were out there on the boat, and I was joking around with him like, hey, give me around that tree right there. I guarantee there's a fish. First cast out there, I pulled in a huge bass. And he goes, I can't believe you just did that. I'm like, hey, class taught me this. And just me wanting to help ensure that there's going to be fish populations for years to come, or deer, turkey populations for years to come. That way, younger generations can have the same experience as me of being able to go out there, smoke your gobbler, your first hunt going, or getting that big deer and just getting hooked on all these just adrenaline feelings.
Yeah, that's got to be one of those things that'd be a cool experience, and having that knowledge. Now, are you going to stick to Missouri looking for a job, or are you open to travel?
I'd like to stick to Missouri and do work there because I love what MDC does, and I'm wanting to become a state shotgun instructor for 4-H and help out that way. And I would like to do that back in Missouri because they gave me the skills, and I kind of want to give back those skills to younger kids. But I'd be willing to go to Iowa, Kansas, or Nebraska too.
I was going to suggest Minnesota. Have you ever been up to Minnesota fishing or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I've gone up there with my grandpa, and my cousins live up there in Minnesota, and we've gone up there and fished for walleye on Leech Lake up there.
Yeah, I've been up around the Detroit Lakes area by the South Dakota, and I pulled in a northern pike on a bass lure, and I thought that was the greatest thing in the world. I was like, never leaving this place. This is awesome. You got a lot of ground and stuff, and I had the opportunity, and I didn't take up on it. I wish I would have, to go ice fishing. I should have done it, but yeah, that would be something that would be really cool to do.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that ice fishing. I went one time, didn't catch anything. Was cold. I'd rather be cold duck hunting instead of fishing. But I may go ice fishing again. But if it's cold outside and there's ducks flying, I'll be out there duck hunting.
Absolutely. That's one thing I haven't got into that I'd like to get into is duck hunting. That and archery. I'd like to be good about shooting a bow when it comes to the time for hunting.
Yeah,
Do you bow hunt?
I don't bow hunt. I did archery for I think 3 years, and I just wasn't that good with it. I found I was a lot better with 22 and shotgun, so I kind of stuck to that. But I do go do some bow fishing with my roommates and friends every now and then down at Columbia.
Oh, that's cool. I've seen a lot of people that do that, or spear fishing and stuff like that. You
Mm-hmm.
see on that. That would be interesting. What's your favorite thing at camp?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'd either say the night dances or whenever you guys had paintball there, because I know I was a reigning paintball champ, member, and counselor, and I sad I cannot defend that title anymore because I'm too old. But doing all those line dances, swing dances, getting kids involved in the hamster dance that you guys do, those are probably the most fun times. You're able just to let loose from any stress you had that day. Have fun with your friends. Um, make your friends a little bit nervous when they've never slow danced with a girl and they want to slow dance that girl, and then you kind of push them over there, give them the courage to go over there, and they're all nervous. It's a lot of fun doing all that.
We in one of the camp evals after my first camp was this girl was like, I danced with the guy for the first time that wasn't my dad. This is the greatest thing in my life. I'm coming back to the camp as long as I can.
Yeah, I would. When I was a counselor, I never turned down dance if there was any girl that was sitting on the side. She was just bored, wasn't talking to anybody. Go over there, invite her out there on the dance floor. Just getting those kids out there, getting them talking to new people, meeting new people. That's what I feel like camp's about. Just those kids that have just been in their county for the first time. They go away from home, what they're not used to. Being able to go out there, make those new connections, get them started on just trying to advance their 4-H career. I feel like that's what our 4-H camp's about.
Absolutely, and it's a great time during the summer to go out there and do a lot of those events. And we always build a cool program around it and stuff like that. And we'll have we've added the night games when we've got we'll get string lights and put on the Nukem, and we play Nukem and stuff like that and get the kids up there. And I've got with uh, Bob T not there. I was the first one to do the music and dancing and stuff, and so I've got a little speaker that I can wheel behind me, and so I took that and we were listening to music and stuff while they were playing the game, and uh, it gets